Ah, the Nintendo 3DS. A handheld system that provides 3D effects without the need of any glasses. It went on to sell over 75 million units worldwide, outclassing prior forays into 3D gaming, which date all the way back to Sega's stereoscopic 3D arcade games. Nintendo's previous attempts to bring 3D gaming into a whole new level didn't do quite well. You got the Virtual Boy, and boy did that disappoint.
Virtual Boy, see it now in 3D.
Nintendo even tried to incorporate 3D effects into the GameCube and Game Boy Advance, but technical limitations and high costs prevented it. In 1987, Nintendo released their very first 3D-based device, the Famicom 3D system, in Japan only. It wasn't successful. The clunky glasses weren't all that great, and there weren't a lot of decent games for it. In fact, Nintendo only made one game for the 3D system, Famicom Grand Prix 2 3D Hot Rally. But one developer made 3 for the device. Square. One of those games was Highway Star, released in the West as Rad Racer, the subject of today's episode. Rad Racer was designed by Square's Hironobu Sakaguchi, who had previously worked on the 3D Battles of World Runner, another Famicom 3D system-compatible game. But we all know him as the creator of Final Fantasy, Square's series of epic role-playing games. Providing the soundtrack for Rad Racer was Nobuo Uematsu, another Final Fantasy veteran. Programming was handled by Nasir Jabeli, who would later tackle coding for the first Final Fantasy game. Like Sakaguchi, he too previously worked on 3D World Runner. In the early 80s, Jabeli had produced action games for the Apple II from Sirius Software and his own company, Jabeli Software. Rad Racer was released on August 7, 1987 in Japan, published by Square, October of 1987 in North America, published by Nintendo, and January of 1988 in Europe, published by Nintendo. See the North American cover art? This will be the last time Nintendo published a game with a cover featuring pixel art. Up until this point, pixel art was the way to go for the covers of Nintendo-published titles. After all, they weren't taking any chances after the video game crash of 1983 in North America. But by the fall of 1987, Nintendo was ready to move on. Third-party publishers had already started releasing NES games with box art that didn't feature pixel art on the cover, and even Nintendo started following suit with The Legend of Zelda, even though they were planning to release it with a black box style cover, and the same would have applied to Punch-Out as well. Back to Rad Racer. Upon boot up, you get to choose from one of 2 vehicles with which to race, a Ferrari 328 Twin Turbo or an F1 Racer. Notice that in the car selection screen, the cursor has the initials HS. That's the Japanese title, Highway Star. After you pick your vehicle, you drive it in a series of race courses. Now, regardless of which car you choose, they both perform the same way. The game has a view from behind the vehicle, similar to Sega's OutRun and Nintendo's own Mach Rider. In the race, you press the A button to accelerate at up to 100 km per hour, and up on the D-pad to go into turbo at a maximum speed of 255 km per hour. You can also press down on the D-pad to listen to a track by Nobuo Uematsu while playing. Press left and right to steer, and B to brake. I recommend you brake when you're turning, especially when you're near the edge of the course. There's poles, signs, and trees that can cause your car to flip off course and crash, which can eat up precious time. Another nod to OutRun. Also beware of competing vehicles, including Ferraris and Volkswagens. They'll block your path and sometimes trip you up. Each time you pass the checker flag at the end of a leg, you'll have reached a checkpoint, which extends your time by 31 to 61 seconds. Even after your timer runs out, you can still coast, and if you should happen to reach a checkpoint while coasting, then your game continues. There are 8 courses. The Sunset Coastline is undoubtedly the easiest of them all. Gives you a good idea of what to do in the future courses. The San Francisco Highway, don't let the beautiful night lights in the background distract you. Keep your eyes out for any opposing cars that come your way. The Grand Canyon, expect a series of turns at the start of the course and towards the finish line. The ruins of Athens is where things get tougher. You have to be near perfect to maintain time in the first 3 legs. Just the 61 extra seconds going into the final leg of the course may not be enough. The Los Angeles Nightway is where lane changing is more frequent among enemy vehicles. The turns in the 3rd leg change frequently. The Snow White Lane takes place in the Rocky Mountains. Unlike most racing games in which you need to watch out for slippery roads and courses with snow and/or ice, Rad Racer doesn't have that. What you should be worrying about is quick adjustments to turns. The Seaway and Typhoon. Traffic is painfully slow here. It's easy to collide with other cars here, and the last leg is rife with left and right turns. Proceed with extreme caution. The final course, Last Seaside Running. Opposing cars are now more merciless than ever. Often they'll occupy all 3 lanes simultaneously and even cut you off. Turns in the 3rd leg aren't sharp, but I'd be cautious if I were in your shoes. The final leg of the game takes patience. Just slow down a bit on the S-turns, and with enough time left, you'll have reached the end of the straightaway to cross the finish line. Once Course 8 is beaten, that's it. Game over. Now there's a few codes I'd like to point out to help you on your way. Code 1. Continue. If you get a game over, press and hold A, then press start. This way, you'll start from the stage where you left off, saving you tons of hassle. Code 2. Stage select. After you pick your vehicle, during the demo, press B for each stage you want to advance from 1. For instance, if you want to start at stage 5, press B 4 times, then hold up and right on the D-pad, and press start. Code 3. Ending. This is for those who don't think they can finish the game, but want to capture footage of the ending. Press B 64 times, then hold up and right and press start, and you've got the game's ending. Another thing to point out is that by pressing select, you'll see the game in stereoscopic 3D mode. To witness the 3D mode for yourself, you'll need a pair of 3D glasses. The game came packaged with the glasses in the West, while in Japan, the 3D mode required the Famicom 3D system. For more information on that device, I highly recommend checking out My Life in Gaming's episode. Try not only brings up the system, but every game released for it and how the 3D effect works.
The visor darkens your vision considerably and adds a rapid strobing effect that isn't exactly the most pleasing thing in the world.
Critically and commercially, Rad Racer was a success. The game sold almost 2 million copies worldwide, and in Nintendo Power's inaugural issue, the game is listed at number 8 in the top 30 poll. However, Computer Entertainer wasn't so friendly. The publication felt that the 3D effect was inferior to Sega's offering, and that the game was better off played without the glasses. Most of Rad Racer's sales came from the United States alone. This success led to the release of a sequel that was only released in North America in 1990. The game also makes a cameo in the 1989 movie The Wizard. Hotshot gamer Lucas Barton shows off his skills by playing Rad Racer with Mattel's infamous controller accessory, the Power Glove.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
Today, you can buy the original Rad Racer cartridge for around $15, depending on which version you buy. But to experience it in 3D, you'll have to either break out a pair of 3D glasses or import the Famicom 3D system. And even then, you're also going to need a CRT television. 2D or 3D, I highly recommend checking out Rad Racer, even if it is OutRun on the NES. It's pretty satisfying to run into an opposing car without exploding. Sorry, pole position. It was definitely a worthy racing title on a Nintendo platform before the Mario Kart series came about. But tell me what you think of the game in the comments below. Thanks again for watching Gaming Delight. Until next time, happy gaming!